Alright, so let's get to the start of the ground attack video with the IAR-81C. I didn't really get into in the last one, but I'll have the opportunity now to talk about difference, why this is an IAR-81, when if you look online, you'll also see the IAR-80 looks just like it. The IAR-81 was originally a dive bomber ground attack version of the IAR-80 fighter. So here you see the 81C, because it is a member of that line of development, can carry, you have in the middle the 500 kilogram and the two smaller, I believe 100 kilogram on the side. Uh, Basically the same loadout as a Stuka in something that is relatively quite capable of air-to-air combat once it drops its bombs. So it gives you some good tactical, grinding, lion-earning opportunities that you don't normally get. And if you look at the bottom of the IAR, you see that little E-shaped cutout and the line behind it. That is not something that's just added to the model. That is something on the actual plane for that release bracket on the center thing. Looking at a photo or a model or something, should you come across one, that is how you tell at a glance, at least from underneath, whether it's an IAR 80 or 81. This first part, as you see, I'm in a test flight, which I normally wouldn't do, but I just kind of want to show off the bombs and everything else. One thing is, if you look quick, you see the propeller turns backwards compared to most other fighters in the game. That means if you're playing in simulator battles, it will roll and turn better to the right than it does to the left, unlike most fighters. Anyway, you'll also notice there's no sound in this. For some reason it didn't record, so I've got music playing instead. Just a little bit something else to listen to other than just silence in my voice here. So we're getting up. You see, once again, I wanted to show off just how slow that gear swing on this thing is. You notice it's climbing not great, but keep in mind it is a tier 2 plane, not, a late war high-powered fighter. It's not climbing that bad with a bomb load. I would not do this toward opposition. I wouldn't climb like this into combat. I would definitely side climb. And I also realized in the Air Combat 1 I didn't show the inside of it. For a tier 2 plane, if you're somebody who likes flying cockpit view or you fly simulator battles, the cockpit view from the IAR for a 1938-39 design in tier 2 in War Thunder is excellent visibility. But with that wing so far forward, you get a really good view of just how far back the cockpit is. Also, you notice top right, that white panel, Extinctor Automat. That is your fire extinguisher system that the IAR is supposed to have. The Gaijin has not seen fit to give it yet. Whatever. So now we're up to altitude. I'm hitting 3,000 feet. Turn back around, climb in. I'm not going to go for the little targets. I'm going to go for stuff on the base just to show you how best to do this. The bombs on this thing are not super effective. The one I did before, I did a few reloaded flights, went for the tanks that you see on the ground over there. I got a direct hit with the 500 kilogram bomb on a light tank and it didn't destroy it. So they're not really effective. And I figured if I'm going to film it and show what's the point of going for a little tiny bitty target that you can't destroy, I'm just going to go do stuff on the base instead and show you the procedure. Now this, like most dive bombers, does have, as I mentioned in the last one, dive brakes. If you hit the dive brake key on this one, it automatically dumps full flaps, and you'll get to see it in this one because I am diving almost straight down. I do use it. I'm going to go for that anti-aircraft gun at the top right corner of the field there. This is going to be my first drop, and I'm going to drop the two underwing mounted on this. You can also, as you saw the picture, if you noticed one of the pictures I showed at the beginning, you can carry the underwing rockets in this, like on the 109 and 190. Don't even bother, they're absolutely useless. These bombs are bad enough. Those rockets are nothing against this drag. So here we go. Pushed over. Not straight down, but pretty steep dive. Power off, dive brakes on. Put the reticle right above what you're going for at this angle. Drop at about between 1,500 and 1,000 feet, so give yourself time to pull up. And look back, and boom. That would have taken out that gun. Against guns and light vehicles, the bombs in this thing are quite effective, as are the guns, as you will see. Tanks come and go as patches and quote-unquote fixes come and go. There have been times the 20 millimeters on this will take out a 234 in one burst. There will times, as you'll see in the second half of this when I get to it, and I deliberately did it and left it in to show you how it is right now in the game after they've changed it most recently. We'll be firing armor-piercing cannon shells, and I can't take out the T-34s I'm shooting at in the game. Whereas if you look at some of my other videos, I've put up the music videos, you'll see me blowing up tanks right and left. That was an earlier patch when they had not, quote-unquote, fixed how effective the cannons are. So now you see I'm getting the climb back up. Obviously, no opposition in this. I can take the time to set up. If you are in a fight, however, with the bombs on, this thing is extremely, extremely sluggish. Maneuverability is non-existent. Acceleration is non-existent. Climb, as you see, is very, very slow. So if you're in air opposition, your best bet is to find a cluster of targets or go for a base and just drop all your ordnance at once. You do have additional drag from the bomb racks, an extra weight. However, if you keep your speed, as I mentioned in the last one, right about between 200 and 300 miles an hour, let's say. Above 300, obviously, you start running into problems with controls locking up. Below 200, you start getting sluggish. Not a lot of effect of the controls. So between 200 and 300, the extra weight, you do notice the extra drag does affect acceleration and speed, but you can still play. So here I'm going to go for those little buildings in front of the two hangars. Here we go, push over again from just over 6,000 feet. Go steeper this time. With the bigger bomb, I like to try and get the accuracy. I'm going for those right under the reticle there. That little corner is where I'm going for. Bomb off. You couldn't really see. It does swing out on the trapeze like on an SPD or something to clear the propeller. There you go. There's your bigger bomb. Now I do some strafing with this, and as you see, when I go for the tank, I'm hitting it right and left. I do a little bit of damage, but it doesn't knock it out. And I wanted in the actual combat bit with it just to do it with armor piercing and show that it was not the belts I was using. It's the game right now with the 20 millimeters. They just don't really do anything. Yeah, that's all that did. All those 20 millimeters on that M3. Even that much 20 millimeter from another tank like the Panzer II would do more damage than that. Whatever. The snail knows all. And to a certain extent, I'm not quite complaining with that. I do understand, as I've said and I mentioned in the podcast, this is a game, not a simulator. I get that. And also with it being a premium, they want to make it fun. They don't want to make it overpowering so everybody hates the thing like they did with some other premiums that came out earlier. So they do kind of handicap it a little bit. Which, as I said, especially with the engine and the speed on this thing, it should have much better performance than it does. But it's a premium. If this ever makes it into a tech tree, if we ever get a Romanian tech tree, which, God, I hope we do someday, I can see the IAR-80 and earlier Model 81s at the lower tiers, lower battle ratings, being very, very effective, very good plans. But this one, as I say, and it's even worse, this thing does not, in the game, face the opposition it should get. As I mentioned in the air-to-air one, this is a 1943-44 vintage plane, and it gets the same battle rating opposition as like a BF-194 or F1 does in this game. So you're actually up against them. You're more competitive with than you should be. Yeah, now I'm going to take it in and I'm going to actually land it in this one just to show you. As I say, you have to plan well ahead with your landing gear and everything else with this. Like most fighters, especially these early tier ones, keep your speed below about 200 to drop your gear. I usually try to do it around 175. And it will, unless you keep the power on like I have, it will very, very quickly lose speed once the gear is down. Once you get it down to about 150, if you're going to use the flaps, that's when to start using those. I don't think I even bother on this because it has a very good glide even without the flaps. And this is one, like a lot of other planes, once you cross the threshold, the end of the runway, chop the throttle, bring it in. And I use the air brake button to drop the flaps because it's quicker. I did end up using them. But you see, once it loses speed, it drops right out of the sky. So don't chop the throttle and dump full flaps unless you are committed to touching down and you're not far from it, because you'll fall right out of the sky. Also, this is one, depending on the runway you're on, you have to be very, very careful with your brakes. It will nose over if you're trying to keep your repairs down and all this other stuff. I have a very good crew on this, so I don't really have to worry about that. But if you're just rearming and you then flip it over to where you have a engine damage and all the other stuff that comes with it, it can add a lot of time. So if you don't have a really good crew, be very, very careful with the brakes when you're landing this. Anyway, that being all done, a couple of pictures here of the historical to fill in the gap. We will now move on to the air-to-ground actual battle portion of this video. Alright, so here we are in an actual match with the IAR for ground attack. I skipped the takeoff and all that. You'll see I do a few firing passes on tanks just to show where we're at right now with what the 20 millimeters will do to them. And it ends up being waste ammo. I kind of wish I had, but it is what it is. And as you see this one, I've got tracers going. I'm running armor-piercing belts here. So. Up going for the armored cars and anti-aircraft and stuff over here. This is the Stalingrad winter map, by the way. Lots of stuff on the ground to kill in this map. I did leave the icons on this one to show distances and stuff like that for the things I'm going for. I don't shoot down any players, so I wasn't worried about, embarrassing anybody on YouTube. Let's see, another one. I come in from the rear on this one just to show it, even from behind, it doesn't do anything anymore. 1 or 2 patches ago, that one burst would have probably taken out both of those tanks, but it comes and goes. Out of cannon, but the machine guns are still pretty effective against that stuff. It's funny watching this on the video replayer with all the holes that are in the plane after attacking that anti-aircraft. In the actual mission, all there was one hole in my rudder. Everything else was fine. The film viewer sometimes has things that weren't in the actual match. I've also had that with planes smoking or not smoking variously, depending on the individual case when I attack them. I've attacked something in the game that was not damaged at all, and yet when I attack in the film viewer, it shows that it's trailing smoke. So I've also had stuff that was badly damaged and shows up perfectly intact in the film viewer. If you can't tell, I'm using vertical targeting on this. I have my gun set to about 300 meters, so when I'm further out than that, I have to try to aim a little low to try to get the rounds on it. Or is it high? I forget which. But either way, the rounds don't fire straight ahead. They're set up so that they pass through the center of your gun sight at distance rather than fire straight ahead and just converge at the distance, which changes your gunnery a little bit. But I don't like to switch it from what I'm used to, because you never know. You could plan on doing ground attack and just run into a bunch of air stuff. So why mess with your guns? So there we go, 10 ground targets like that quick. Go back to rearm since I'm out of cannon, and I go back and get a few more. But you see I'm going straight ahead, full throttle, and only 219 here. I just took off again, and I'm going a little bit faster because I've been going longer. But a little more ground firing on this one. I cut the end of this. I originally had it on there because I go in and shoot down a couple of their IL-2 AI planes they've got here, but then when I rewatched the video, half of it is spent with me chasing them down because the IAR is just so damn slow, so I didn't bother keeping it in there. I cut it out. Now see, this is one where I also kind of wish, in retrospect, that I had taken bombs, because I don't run into enemy fighters. I could have actually used the bombs pretty effectively, but, hindsight's 20/20. Since I had the ammo, I should have kept going against ground targets, but we were so far ahead in points, I said to hell with it after I get these last couple, and I start going after IL-2s. I get, I think, 3 of them, including the last one I kill gets us over in points and wins the match. But as I say, it's like 5 minutes of me slowly chasing an equally slow plane and putting shots in it, so I just said hell with it and cut it out. It really doesn't contribute anything. This is where I turn around and you see those flashing red diamonds there. Those are the AI attackers. If you're not used to the game, those are what I go after. As I say, I think I get 3 of them, but it takes so long to get into distance and attack them. I just said the heck with it. There you go. So there it is on ground attack. I kind of wish, as I said, I'd had bombs on that one, but I didn't know what I was going to run into. And I've had the issue several times of when you get on the runway and try to go back to the tower to change your loadout, instead of letting me change the loadout, it says that I exited and won't let me back in. So I've stopped even bothering with it. It's just an annoyance. I don't bother. So anyway, there you go. There it is in ground attack. I'll keep doing videos, probably more music videos and stuff with it, because I really do love this plane. More 109 stuff to go with it too. And I might do a couple more. There's a couple more Romanian, I guess you'd say Lend-Lease, because they're from other countries, but there's 2 Romanian HE-112s and the Romanian HS-129 and all that in here. So I might go ahead and do a couple of map videos with those just to have some fun with it. I think it's pretty cool that War Thunder is including those, because that's one of the countries that quite often gets ignored in history about World War II, so I think it's pretty cool they're in there. Plus, it's my favorite country outside the U.S., so it's nice to fly that Mihai Cross. So, thanks for watching. Have a good one, and like I said in the last one, please give a like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps me out. The algorithm, the more people like it, the more it'll show up on people's feeds. And the more people watch it, the more I guess satisfying it is to make these. It's kind of discouraging to make things and put them out there and nobody sees them. So even if, people just randomly come across it and watch it, it's nice to have people actually seeing it and maybe enjoying it and maybe learning something. So have a good one, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.